Hi, my name is Keith Hubner, and I'm going to be going over our Voyager IV Commercial Nitrox generator. We're going to just go over an overview of all the components first. We'll start with some of the bigger components and then work our way down into some of the more detailed components, going over the analyzers and how all the gauges function. We'll start with our high pressure compressor. The high pressure compressor is a 4-stage compressor. It is pressure lubricated through the oil pump with a spin-on oil filter for ease of access. We separate 2 different stages on the compressor and then the final stage coming off the compressor to maximize your filter life. In the field, you're going to want to slightly adjust those to account for your temperature and humidity, and we'll go over that a little later. Then we have over here our low pressure rotary screw compressor. So the rotary screw compressor is going to run your membrane system, which supplies the oxygen-rich air to your high-pressure compressor. So it's important to maintain both these compressors on a regular basis with oil and filters. From there, the membrane system, which separates both, is underneath here. There's no maintenance to the membrane itself, except for the filters, which protect it from water and oil particulates and get out the smell. From there, it's going to feed through a CO scrubber, which is going to scrub the CO out of the air. It's going to come to you empty. You're going to fill it with the absorbent of your choice. There's a spin-on filter inside. If you notice CO levels going up, you're going to want to take a look at your absorbent and your air location. On the side of the unit, we're going to have our high pressure filters. They're going to go in order from absorbent all the way up through polishing, and we'll pull those out and show you what they look like and how to treat them when installing them. Right next to the filters, you're going to have your separator condensate catch bucket. You're going to want to drain this daily from the valve at the bottom. The more you drain it, the cleaner it'll be. If you notice water coming out of your filter up top here, most likely your bucket is full. So our HP compressor is going to have a couple of protections on it. So the compressor comes with an auto drain system that drains off the condensate every about 10 minutes. We're going to want to fine tune that and get that dialed into your temperature through this timer right here. We've supplied an instruction manual on how to change that for your specific environment if need be. So the compressor is also supplied with all the gauges to check from oil pressure through all the different stages all the way up to your fill pressure. Right next to that, you're going to have a dial a pressure switch, which has a red mark with a little dial that you're going to dial to the specific pressure that you want to fill to. Most of the time it will stay stationary and it can just stay right at your pressure. The low pressure compressor comprises of a temperature switch, a pressure switch, and an unloader valve. We'll go over the operation of those units and how to adjust them and check to make sure that they're working properly in the event that you have a problem. So looking at the dashboard, we're going to go over the different alarms and how to start and stop the unit. First, you're going to have your emergency stop. It has 3 arrows on it in a rotating direction. You're going to want to twist that to unlock it. If you simply pull it, you might damage the emergency stop, and we'll have to repair that. You also have an on switch for your high pressure compressor and an on switch for your low pressure compressor. Your low pressure compressor will not start without your high pressure compressor running. So when the unit is done filling to a specific pressure, it will shut down as a whole and be ready for use next time. So we're going to look at our main dash here and the buttons and what the alarms are going to indicate. We're going to have our emergency stop button, which we're going to rotate to release. That'll activate the entire unit. In an emergency, go ahead and just hit it to shut it down. We have our start-stop switch for our high pressure compressor. You're going to go to the start switch The unit will turn on, go to the specific pressure you want, and then shut off. To run the low pressure compressor for the membrane, you must have the high pressure compressor running. That switch works a little bit different. You're going to go ahead and put it in the run position and then hit it to the start and let it go. From there, the rotary screw will start running and go through its startup cycle. We have a couple of alarms down below there. Each one of these alarms will turn off the unit and give you a red light until the alarm is fixed and dealt with, ranging from cabinet temperature to high pressure low oil switch, high temperature switch, H2 alarm, H2O alarm, and O2 alarm. We're going to take a look at our high pressure electrical box here and just go over some of the components so that you can troubleshoot these in the field if you need to. We have our main contactor on our left, then our star delta contactors are on our right. That's part of our starting system. When it first starts, we're going to have our first one and our third one pull in, and when it goes to run, the left two will turn on. Then we have our fan contactor for cooling the cabinet down, and our control transformer, which controls the entire unit. At the bottom, we have our main disconnect. This will be hooked up to your door so that you can't get into the electrical box while it's live. You'll have to turn it off, lock it out, and then you can access the box. At the bottom here, we have all our fuses that control our high pressure box only. In the event that you have a failure on your control power so the HP won't start, we're going to want to look at these fuses down below here, and we'll go over how to check those in a little bit. We also have the relays. These are part of our control circuit for our analyzers and our temp switches. So we'll light up those in a minute and look at what it should look like when it's ready to go. Then we're going to take a look at our low pressure box over here. So the low pressure box has a very similar layout here as far as how the contactors go up to the fan controller. Then we got a low voltage power supply on the side, which controls all of our lights and analyzers. We have the same disconnect at the bottom that we had on the other side, so it'll be locked out as well. Then we have a row of fuses over here. We'll go over what all those fuses are and how to check them. Then we have more relays, which are for the analyzing system again, and we'll show you what they're supposed to look like. Okay, so let's turn on some power. Okay, so now that we got some power on, we're going to go ahead and release our emergency stop button by twisting it. You might see some flashing on your dash. That's just going through the relays, and you might blink a little bit, so don't worry about that. But at the same time, our cabinet temperature and our heater temperature switch are going to come on, and we're going to be able to turn on all our analyzers. So we'll want to pull off the snorkels to all these while they calibrate so that we get just an air calibration from them. From there, we can go ahead and look at some of the lights and how they function and what they'll look like when they trip. Now that we've turned on power, why don't we look in the electrical boxes for what they should look like in the happy state and ready to run. So our high pressure box is going to be lit up with the two orange lights, which are going to be for our low oil and our high temp, and then our two analyzers that'll shut down the unit, which are our CO and our CO2. In our low pressure box, we have the exact opposite going on. These are all of our analyzers, and they have the light off. When they trip the relay with the sensor, it will light up that light. So now that we know that everything's ready to run, we can go ahead and turn on our high pressure compressor and let that kind of warm up for a minute, and then turn on our low pressure compressor.